we do these different topics, and I wanted to do one on male sexual energy and the dispersion of sexual energy, because it just keeps coming up in conversations with women. And
With women?
yeah, well, because I've noticed a lot of your videos, and I come at it obviously from the perspective of a woman, that I really try to put myself in a man's brain, but I'm not a man and I'll never understand what it's like to be a man, even though I can try to understand the male experience. And what I'm realizing more and more is how important, I guess I've underestimated, or I'm just coming to a deeper and deeper realization, how important it is to the male, that physical aspect. And for women, I think, especially in the dating world and in meeting men, what we've talked about, which we've covered so many times, is being seen, understood, and heard, is like vital for her safety to even go there. But I think that men prioritize the physical. And I even like came to my partner just kind of like, hey, like, how important is that? And like, is that the primary thing you're looking for? And so what I'm seeing in women is this like disappointment in men across the board, because they're leading with the physical. And you've done a lot of videos about like the intentionality, like when you go on a date, of just being present and like being in her energy. And so I thought it would be really important to like kind of share that female perspective for men out there, but also to talk about like why spreading. I'll give an example. Like the algorithm shows that when men go on a dating site, they might like 200 women, whereas a woman might go on a dating site and like one man.
Hmm.
So she's being highly selective. I mean, this is science. This is like the science of the algorithm. This is not like me making it up. Like the algorithms show men shoot, like they spread their seed wide. Like they go out and they fish and see what they catch in their net. Whereas a woman is like the almost the complete opposite. Like she's gonna say, okay, I'm gonna screen all of these men to find out what feels like safe before I would even have a conversation or texting or whatever. So, what I think men don't understand is, although it might be in the biology of a male to like lead with the physical, for the feminine experience, that's not receptive.
Hmm.
And I don't think men understand that when they're not purely intentional, and I want to get into the sexual energy aspect of this, but when they're dispersing themselves far and wide, they're not intentional or clear in exactly what they want and being driven to go after what they want. Take that, like you said, training for the bedroom, in and out of the bedroom. So whether it's in the bedroom or dating, you're going to take that same energy into your creative life force and whatever endeavors you do in life, or into a business or into your work.
Hmm.
So it translates across the board because that energy is dispersed.
Right.
And so people might think, well, what does that really mean? And I wanted to kind of go into the Tantra nuances to explain why for a male that might not be beneficial.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, what I'd like to add too, just about in the dating world and the kind of importance of the physical connection, I actually think most men aren't outwardly leading with it. They're not owning that is such an important piece
Yes,
to
yes,
them. And
yes.
and so it becomes, it's again, it's like that covert kind of contract, nice guy dynamic where the guys are out there swiping, 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 looking for somebody who might be open and receptive to that physicality, but not owning that is an important piece. And then I think, like a personal realization for me, or I guess something that's become more clear over time, right, is like it, it almost can, there can be a story in guys' heads that the only time we can be physically affectionate and get that need met is in the act of sex. And it's
Right. And I think that this concept is so good, because I don't think until I really started watching your videos, because again, I'm coming from this feminine perspective, that I could see how profound that was for the male experience.
Well, yeah, and it's a slippery slope for guys because we start trying to, again, think about this thing, and if we're so used to being like, oh, I can as a man let down my walls and my guard and be soft with my partner when we're being physically sexually intimate, and that's the only time I'm allowing that to happen, then there can be this like starving from the man because I think to some extent all of us need that. Like there is a universal need for being accepted and being and feeling connected, and we can get that met in so many different ways with partners, but we have to be able to separate the importance of the connection and that need and how that feels from just the act of sex itself, right? And then
Right. I think that that's where men are like quote unquote missing the mark
mhm,
is that they're not understanding, just like I wasn't understanding the nuance, even studying and being in this space. And like, you know, I wasn't even understanding it to the level until I started watching your videos and getting really curious about it. So, like, I think it's important for females to understand the level of importance that it is for the male. Like, it goes both ways, right? Like, okay, if they could just admit that out of the gate, then we can all be transparent. But I think at that from the male's perspective, like they're missing the mark if they think that leading with the physical, it might work here and there. But I feel like what's happening is either one, they're missing the mark entirely, meaning they're not even scoring,
right.
or because we also know that there's the biggest loneliness epidemic in men that we've ever seen.
Yeah.
So there's certain men that are scoring fine, and there's others that are like not scoring at all. And so, like, there's that component. But then, um, even if they get to say date one or date two, if they're missing this part of the feminine experience, then they're not going to get to date three, four, or any further down the road.
Right.
And then maybe they're only getting their physical needs met through transactional relationships, but not having the depth of a real, profound, intimate experience with a woman.
Yes. And there's a big, big difference between, again, just
Because
casual,
there's a hookup culture.
yeah, yeah, casual, lighthearted hookup, hey, that was fun, thanks, versus a deep polarity, energetic transfer and sharing of that energy between the man and the woman. And they're very different in the way those will impact men in the long term. And I think that's sort of the bigger conversation here is about women are these multi-orgasmic like sources of life force and energy and emotion. And it's almost a bottomless well. Like that energy can just flow and flow and flow when it's safe and right, given the right situation, the right partner, the right dynamics. And that's a gift for the masculine, for the male partner energetically, but so many people just, I mean, so many guys are not even conscious that it exists and then not at all doing anything intentional to help cultivate that and develop
But
that.
I think that what men are maybe missing, and this is just my opinion and what I'm witnessing and seeing out in the culture at large,
Yes.
missing the mark is that they're not even like they'll settle for the hookup culture, whether they hook up or not, they'll settle for it, but then they're missing the mark that there's this more profound, expansive, life-giving experience. Because okay, so now I want to get into the tantra aspect.
I want to let's say that again too. And it's not just missing the mark in the superficial relationships and dating, but it's missing the mark with the daily use of porn and masturbation
Yes, like
and
I think there's this like I heard this quote the other day, like chasing the tail of a woman, like
right.
chasing after women, or like and and I was just like, oh my gosh, like this is what really got me thinking about the dispersion of energy is like a man, like if you follow the tantric principles, and we don't have time to go into that in this full 30 minutes, they'll have to come to our retreat. But if a man is like dispersing this energy far and wide and chasing, then he's really not centering his own authority.
Hmm.
So like in Tantra, the male lingam is like, the word that we use for the male anatomy. And it is called the wand of light. And when a male is in his own inner authority and he's in his own like divine masculine and he's embodying his life force to a place where he's not dispersing his life force, he knows who he is as a man, he's confident in his being. Like that is where the magnetism for a woman, when a man knows who he is and he's centered in his inner authority and he's not chasing anything because he knows that he can go out and get what he wants, because he's directive.
Mm,
So the lingam of light is a compass. It's like it is a compass. It knows the direction. And this is, again, this is tantric, this is energetic, so we can't translate this into like an exact biological conversation.
right.
But when a man is in his authority and he knows what he wants, his compass knows where to go. The direction is clear. And that's the kind of man who can go out and get a woman and know, because she's gonna feel that he wants her. She's gonna feel that desire. She's gonna feel his interest in her, his presence in her, like, his sought after, willingness to, like you said, training for the betterment's like to go the distance, to offer something more than just some transactional thing. She's going to be like, okay, this man knows who he is. He knows what he wants. Because there's been many times I've heard women say, I had no interest in this man. But when he literally, like, directively went after her with authority and clarity and conviction, he got the woman because she could feel that presence, that interest, that care, that initiative, that made it worthwhile.
Right.
Um, but a woman, like women are very perceptive. If they think a man is after multiple women, like they'll pull back because the woman wants to be the one that's desired. She wants to be the one that's cherished. She wants to be the one that's honored. And, so women have a very strong radar for if they're really chosen or not.
Yeah, and again, there's a difference between chosen for, oh, I, I feel a physical urge and desire. I think you're hot. I want to be with you.
Yes, the
And
difference is a woman will be like, but what is it about me?
right,
Like the
right.
question I hear from women all the time is, okay, it's fine that this man likes me, but what makes me different from all the other women out there that you have selected me as the
Yes.
person that you're willing to put energy into? Because if a woman has a sense of that dispersion and she doesn't feel chosen and she doesn't feel that he selected her for reasons beyond the physical, she'll shut down
Hmm.
because her whole person hasn't been witnessed.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if your whole person hasn't been witnessed, like women have such a strong radar for that. Even if they don't know it consciously, they know it subconsciously.
Yeah. And it's a tricky place to be. And this is, I mean, I think the sort of the lost nuance here, right, around this kind of loaded topic is that it can seem like, oh, you just want to be with me for sex, or that's all that matters, and that's a hard place for a guy to be in, especially when it's in a relationship with somebody that they care about. And they're like, no, wait, we've been together for, 4 months. Like, obviously, we're sharing time together and energy together that's outside of the bedroom, and the bedroom piece is important to me. And again, most
I
guys
feel
aren't,
like some
let me
guys
finish,
need
Paige.
some
Let me finish.
investment though.
Paige, let
Yeah.
me finish. Most
Yeah.
guys are not able to do that, again, to convey that in a way that is both owning their desire, their need, where it's coming from, and being sensitive to the woman's emotional state. And it takes practice, and it takes an
But here's
awareness.
the thing
And,
though.
and it takes the other thing, though, too, is recognizing that, the 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 destination, the end result, oh, we had sex, we orgasmed, like that's not what it's about. It is the journey, in all of the stuff that we're doing. It is in the process. It is in the building of the relationship, the building of the connection, the exchange of the polarity. And many guys today, and I've been absolutely guilty of this, we can struggle with confusing and crisscrossing physical touch and intimacy with it needs to then become sex. And
Right, but I
those,
think that's where this is what I'm really getting at, the heart of what I'm getting at. Without that investment in her, like think about it like a piggy bank. If, and I'm not talking money here, like transactional money, but if like you're not putting something in the piggy bank, just I'm talking energy.
right.
Like if you're not willing to put energy, and I'm not, and I'm talking energy into witnessing her, understanding her, getting to know her, that investment, there's no return.
Yeah.
There's no return. You might have an immediate transactional moment. You might have like some interest and then it fades away. But without, I think where men miss the mark is that they don't understand that they have to invest energy. And again, when I use the word invest, I think money comes right to mind. But an investment of energy is her benchmark for whether you care about her or not.
Hmm.
Like, so whether her radar's conscious or unconscious, like it matters. And I think that's why the term training for the bedroom is important, because it's like you're getting ready to run a marathon with her.
Hmm.
And if she doesn't see that you're kind of the kind of man that can run a marathon with her, like to go the distance,
Right.
like she's not gonna want to feel, she's not gonna feel safe. It just goes back to that safety. She's not gonna feel the safety that she needs to be to even have that of interest to her.
Yeah. It feels
And
like
if women are saying they're not, that that's not where they are, that's fine too. Maybe they're not, but I would say when they're actively seeking a relationship, they're gonna scan for safety.
this
And
well, yeah, I mean, to me, this is sort of we're like tiptoeing back and forth between the difference between intention and why we're showing up and what we're doing, and then we're trying to tie in the dispersal of energy and the lack of focus, the lack of purpose, the lack of direction for the masculine, and how that bleeds over into the lack of intention in the relationship, right? And cultivating that connection. Because again, it's easy to just keep score at that really superficial level. It's like, oh, did you hook up or not? Did you orgasm or
I
not?
think for women, like what I'm seeing across the board is that they're not trusting men.
Yeah.
They're like, they're failing us. They're not showing up. They're not doing their inner work. I'm better without them. And it's not good for either,
No.
party. But I'm hearing it from women. I'm doing it all. Like I've got, like, what do I need a man for anymore? And like there's so few more out there that like they're going off the dating world. Like I have clients who come in here, all the time, that are like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm done with men. And I think this is why I want to do this, because if men can't hear this, sure, they might have hookup culture, or they might spread their interests far and wide and chase tail. But until they understand, they're not going to have anything of depth or anything. It might be transactional, but it's not fulfilling. And
Yeah.
it's certainly not going to get that man to his A game. Because if he's not practicing his A game, like I said, training for the better, and like if he's not practicing his A game in all aspects of his life, then he's missing the mark everywhere, because it's a level of, it's like if you're training for a marathon versus somebody who goes out and runs a 5K, there's a different kind of person.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I do think there are men and women that are absolutely though waking up to this. And I think there's a lot of women who are waking up to this and being willing to take responsibility on their end for the way society has pushed to silence men and to, blame men for the energetics and the way things have happened, in culture
Right.
today.
But just like I think it's important, like we started with the feminine, to understand that that's a component that's there. It's like, how do I say this? The loneliness epidemic is higher in men than women, and the
Yes.
suicidal rate is higher than men and women. So I think it's like that's, I mean, I have so many women that are like, okay, it's great you're doing these workshops, you're working with Peter. Every woman tells me, great, it's great that you have Peter, somebody that's working with this. So at least there's some conscious man out there that's like talking about this, is thinking about. I can't tell you the number of women that are like, and I'm like, that's why I teamed up with Peter, was to open up these conversations to have a male perspective. Um, but I can't, they're just like, there's so few men that are even interested. And I'll tell you, when I run these workshops, when I do this, the interest in women is way greater than, I mean, we just did when we were at the Goodall Gallery. I mean, there's way more women sitting in the circle than there are men. So if
Mm.
we can't reach men to have these conversations about wanting to have some level of depth, like I can't communicate enough that the hookup culture or the transactional culture isn't going to get you as a man to where you really
Right.
want to be.
Right.
And
It's marketed though in a way that feeds on men's desires for quick solutions, solve the problem, right? Like that's, I mean, that is part of what that problem is with the kind of hookup culture and some of that red pill manosphere stuff, and again, and it's not healthy really for men or for the women that they're engaging with. It is going to leave a lacking of depth and meaning and significance.
well, how do you think you, as this, because we're on this call, like, how do you think you get men to the table to have these conversations? Like, what's it going to take to
Mm.
have men be like, okay, I'm not fulfilled. I am lonely. I'm really not scoring. I may score every now and then, but ultimately I live pretty lonely and pretty missing the mark. And like, what is it going to take? Like, what is it going to, because I get it from women all the time and I'm like scratching my head and I understand what the women need to do from their vantage point. But, like, I think just like out of the gate for women listening, like making a man feel safe, to be honest, to have that level of transparency, just like, can you make him feel safe enough to show you or tell you what's really going on in his head
Yeah.
without judging him?
Yeah.
Like if women could get to the place where they could say, okay, I'm not going to judge you. I'm just going to be really curious and open to like your
Mm.
perspective. That would get women to get more men to the table. But to get men to want to do this work with women, even if it's not dating, but just to have these conversations of where can we come together and create this magnetism?
Right.
Because I'm seeing a massive void in women, and I'm seeing men like chasing their own tails, not chasing the tail, but chasing their own tails, not scoring at all because they've missed the mark with women altogether.
Well, and again, that's not scoring, not connecting with actual other humans in a real, meaningful, significant way. Because I think a lot of, men or boys, especially in the younger crowd, again, are just like, oh, it's easier for me to stay home and talk to my OnlyFans girlfriend, right? Than it is to actually go out and get rejected and go out and have no interest from any women when I'm out and about and not know even where I should go or what I should do. And if someone wanted to talk to me, what would I even say? And so they're living in these kind of virtual, dopamine full environments
Um,
where, all right, we're playing video games, we're masturbating, and some of them are probably working and making great money and, doing a job. But the reality is none of that,
they're not satisfied. I mean, I know
it's not
many men.
purposeful. None of it is.
Yeah, like I know, I just am thinking in the men that I know, um, they're still like, there's still a level of loneliness. There's still a level of like, you know, like I think what you said is like this dopamine hit, like, okay, go back to dating sites, like communicating like back and forth through texting. I've heard men say, well, women will text and then you finally say, okay, let's meet up. And they're like, no. And then they'll like ghost you because they didn't feel safe.
Yeah.
They didn't, like, why would they give you their number or meet you in a public venue if they didn't feel safe? So like even that can be like a,
Look,
it could be like, I just want to finish this thought. It could be fun game for a minute until it's not.
yeah. Yeah, I have an interesting story. I was talking with a guy who came up to me at a comedy show, and he'd heard some of my comedy jokes about dating and stuff. And he was telling me, he's like, I've had 4 dates with women, and they all went to a first date, and the energy was good leading up to it. And then we've had these first dates, and then just completely fizzled out afterwards.
Mhm.
And he was like, I don't really know what's going on there. And, my suspicion is that the scheduling of the date, the anticipating meeting in person, like they were probably having some good messaging back and forth. So it was creating some tension. It was creating a charge and some polarity. And then he, planned the date. Hey, here's what we're going to do. But then on the date, didn't know how to keep that energy and that charge up. And instead, the date plays out like, oh, it's got the friend vibe. I'm a really nice guy. This is fun. We're doing something
But that's what
enjoyable.
I mean is she's like consciously and subconsciously scanning all
Right.
the time for can she trust you to go out with you again?
Yes.
Like on such a level that I don't think that men fully understand.
No.
Like there have been so many, like when I was dating, I'm not dating now. I mean, I'm in a partnership, but I remember I would go to like on those one dates and they would never make it to date number two. And I would always get this text and they're like, oh, usually women just ghost, but they were like, you're kind enough to like actually write back, you're not interested. So when I would say like, thank you so much for the date, I appreciate our time together, it's just not a fit. I would always just write, it's just not a fit.
Yeah.
They would immediately write me back, why is it not a fit? And I would be really polite and be like, it's just not like it's not a fit. Like I wouldn't tell them why.
Yeah.
I would say it's just not a fit. And then they would always be like, explain to me precisely what wasn't the fit. And I couldn't explain it to them. And here's why. Because it was an energy, it's like the polarity. It was an energetic thing that once there, I didn't feel that polarity. And you can't put that into terms for people. But I can tell you from the feminine perspective, like you're scanning all the time subconsciously. Like you can be in a conversation that's very directive, but every little nuance is getting scanned constantly. Um, and if I really went back to each of those dates, I could tell you probably precisely like what the polarity thing was,
Sure.
an interest to me or whatever, or even physical. But yeah, I think that men, if they could understand this more, then they could lead a little better, right? Or
Yeah.
understand a little
I-
more.
It's
Uh,
I'll tell you, and I may be giving away something for men or something, but the story that I'm telling myself with guys is that they're for them in the male mind, I can't tell if it's a fit or not until we've had sex. Right?
male mind says that.
Yeah, like again, like it's this thing of like, oh, I already know I'm interested in you because I've pursued you to an extent and I am wanting to
Yes.
go out and taking a date. So for me, the next point of data is, oh, what kind of physical connection do we have? And so guys start just red flags flying by and completely ignore them, out of the gate because again, they're wanting that point for the male. And it's so different for the feminine and not understanding this nuance, right? Is
Right. But it's
problematic.
that part of being seen. It's that part of like for the feminine. I'll give you a perfect example that women will give
Yeah.
on a date. Let's just read this an example. A woman goes on a date. I've heard this so many times, and the male just talks about himself. He doesn't inquire about her. The woman's like, I don't ever want to go on that date ever again. That was awful. Like the male literally comes, he's talking about himself, he's talking about his life, he's sharing, sharing, sharing. And like she walks away and she's like, did he even see me? Did he even like it's just like
Right.
immediately a massive turn off. It's like, where's your interest in me at all? If there's none, I'm not interested in going to the bathroom with you. Like zero.
That happens all the time, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So like that's just one like, coming without showing a pure interest in who the woman is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was talking to a friend who that happened like a week and a half ago, and was just like, I couldn't believe, I mean, she said, she was like, within 5 minutes, I knew I was not interested in him. But she felt more of a connection before they met in person through the messaging, through, the things that he said he was interested in and what he pursued, because he put out there that he was into personal growth and stuff,
Yeah.
but then lacked the awareness in the
Right.
actual.
Lack of awareness.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. Like actually it was funny because my partner now, um, he was 15 minutes late to the day. I was literally like ready to walk out the door. I was like, if he can't be here on time, then like what kind of integrity does this man have? Like zero. Like I was just like completely annoyed. I was ready to pack up. Luckily, I had a book that I was enjoying. And something just kept telling me, like, Paige, like, wait, like, I don't know. Like, I was overriding this signal of like being 100% annoyed and ready to leave and like never text the guy back again. Like, if I'd left and then he was like, where'd she go? I was like, not even like interested in texting back. So, like, I was literally getting ready to pack up when he walked in the door. And I mean, I was shut down, like completely shut down. Like, I'm not sure I even want to be here. What a dumbass. Like, and if he hears this, like, hopefully he's not offended. But like, I was literally just like, what an idiot. Like, I took the time to be here on time. I'm sitting here like patiently, like waiting. And so my whole energy body just shut down because I was ready to literally walk out the door when he walked in.
Mm.
Um, but what immediately preceded that was this warm energy, apology, like, can I get you tea? Like, is there anything you need or want? And there was this like level of warmth that I was like, okay, I can take my guard down.
And he
Like,
took responsibility.
he took responsibility. He apologized, he like owned it and then immediately assessed like what was my need, like in the
Mm.
situation, like can I go get you something to drink or something? So it was like, okay, he's assessing my needs, like versus like just sitting down and going and ordering a drink for himself. Like it was so I was able to like let my guard down in order. I think we talked for another 2 hours or something like that. And then he
Wow.
asked, and then the other thing that was a score at the end is like as we left, I was going back to my car. He's like, can I take you on a date? Like he was directive and like setting up the next date, showing me the level of interest to like be like, I want to set something up now with you, which like to me was like his level of interest was high. And at that moment I'm not even sure that I knew what I felt. But there was a level of warmth and a level of like meeting my needs and being conscientious of like, like you said, owning it, which
Yes.
allowed me to stay further and show interest. Um,
In that,
but
well,
yeah, go ahead.
I mean, like that is the move for the masculine energy, for the male, is to be in the moment and be present. Period. Like that's it. And like swinging this back to like semen retention or those kind of uh, dynamics. I mean, I think that's maybe a bigger piece of the problem than just masturbating to porn. It's the lack of intention and presence with that. And so again,
Right. Yeah,
just
and I think that goes back to like what we said, dispersing energy. If a man doesn't have that internal discipline, like
Mhm.
that internal ability to really, and I keep going back to your thing, training for the betterment. It's like if a man doesn't have a lot of discipline in himself, a woman's going to feel that energetically
Yeah.
because it's not trustworthy.
Yes.
A man who's not disciplined or have a level of self control isn't trustworthy for the feminine.
Yeah. And, the bigger picture for the man is, oh, I'm just throwing my energy and attention around in these sort of haphazardly ways towards, again, porn or OF people. Like it's not really filling my cup up. It doesn't really make me a better person or more aligned with my purpose and my community and the other things I'm doing with my life. I mean, you're emptying you're just pouring out from an empty bucket and you're just going to keep depleting yourself. And then guys then want to sit back and be like, well, how come I'm not drawing people in? How come I'm not, doing fun stuff? I see these other people going out and doing fun stuff. Why do they want to go do that? Well, it's because they're taking that energy and they're using it and they're cultivating it and they're putting it out into the world in a way
Yeah,
that
it's
aligns
well,
with.
it's a creative life force energy. So if you don't use it in relationship, you can use it to write a book, you can use it to create a company, you can use it to make a piece of artwork or
Get
write
in
a play.
shape, get in
So
shape. Yeah.
yeah, so it's like there's an infinite amount of energy that you can tap into. Um, and what I'm seeing is that's what also why women are like, it's not trustworthy because they can't see not only direction in the date, but the direction in life.
For sure. And I think that's even I mean, probably the biggest part for the dating for the younger men today is that,
Yeah. Oh, and yeah. We were going to dating. Like the one thing too, like when I've been on a date is like when I've asked a question like, hey, what are you up to? What are you doing in your life? And if the man's like not, if he doesn't have that mission or being on his mission or like knowing what he's after, it's an automatic turn off. It's like, where are you going? What are you doing? Like
yeah,
you're like, what are you offering to the world? How are you of service? Like, because if you're not, how are you going to guide me?
right,
How are you going to be there for me?
right. 100%, 100%. It's such an interesting topic. And, and there are, it's funny, I always want to kind of bring up the other side of the male dispersion of energy in the form of ejaculation, because there is a health benefit for men to orgasming regularly, health for the
Yeah.
prostate. And so,
Yeah.
and again, so it's kind of like there's,
But it's a self control to have a practice where that dopamine hit is like um, not readily available to cultivate. Again, it's a subtle energy. It's not, I mean, you could say there's a lot of nutrients depleted through 30
right,
days or
right.
whatever it is to create sperm. So there's a like high packed amount of nutrients and density in sperm itself. But so if it took 30 days to create that sperm and you ejaculate it every single day, then you're energetically, physiologically depleted. Um, but the life force energy is what you can't even fathom
Mm,
if you have no discipline.
right.
Like if you have no discipline to um, to cultivate that inner, like it goes back to what I was saying about inner authority. How do you even know what you want, or how do you even know what you're after with a woman or with your mission? It's like you don't. So you're just going to go anywhere and everywhere, and anyone that'll take you, well, that's not going to take you very far in
No.
or out of the bedroom. You're going to miss the mark in all aspects of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is such a wild topic. And my brother and I go in to have conversations and debates about this frequently. And it's just, I don't think there's no right or wrong answer about like how it should be for every person every day. And that's again where building that self-awareness, cultivating our own individual practice, and then working on, because the thing is, we can build this awareness, this presence, this slowing down, this sexual energy is a gift and it's a flow and we can channel it. Like men can actually do that by themselves.
Right. So can
Like
women. So I was
women,
like, so
yes.
women can do that too. So
Yes. And it actually probably that's a more healthy way for men to start exploring their own sexuality and this own desire and what this is. And it's about slowing down. And but I think so many of us, men, we start masturbating, in junior high or high school, and then it's all about quick, get it done, don't get caught, and the destination is the goal, right? It is about the end result. And so we kind of have to break those patterns, and break the taboo around it in a way too. And so I think it's really good that, just you and I are having this conversation. I feel like we're probably going to talk about this at least a few more times.
I want to end with this funny story really quick. So I
Please.
have a 14-year-old son, and about 6 months ago, he started a Instagram profile, and literally by day 1 or 2, he literally went viral. And when I say viral, he had over 100,000 followers.
What?
And what he did, and this just goes to exactly this topic, which is so funny. What he did is he would he decided on day one to go up to a girl and ask her if she would go out with him. So, right, he had the risk to see if he could get the reward. And of course, she said no. So he's like, come back for day two. And he goes up to another girl. He asks her out. She says no. Come back for day three. I mean, the kid went viral within like the second or third video. He was full on viral. And there were like hundreds of remarks like, keep going. Like men were like, keep, like, go after her. You know, the female remarks were really different than the male remarks. So I just thought it was funny. So day 21, he got a yes. He literally was viral like for 21. It was like a 21-day streak. He would go on every single day, invite a different girl out. Well, the 21st girl said yes on Halloween night. And it's because she didn't know that he'd been asking 21 girls out at his school. So she thought she was special that night. And like he was he was out he was out on Halloween with like 10 other guys. So they were all jumping down and screaming, like, yeah, like you got the girl. Like, and it was totally viral. And I thought it was such an interesting self-study of kind of like, of this like kid, like just willing to like miss the mark 21 times until he got his yes. And of course, he got tons of accolades and went viral. But Ainsley and I, his mom and sister on the background, were like, but you're not interested in any of these girls. Like, you're just asking any of them. Like, what is your actual interest in her? And so then when he ended up with the girl that said yes, we're like, oh God, this isn't going to last. Because she's going to realize that when she goes to the Instagram,
Right.
that she was like the 21st girl that said yes. So it didn't last for very long, suffice it to say. But it was, I think it's in males' biology, right, to procreate. So it's a like natural desire to to see if you can get the reward of the girl. Um, but the other side of that is where's the reward? It's a dopamine hit in the moment, and as soon as the moment's over, the dopamine hit's gone, and you don't have anything that's lasting or worthwhile or or has any depth to it.
Right.
It only lasts, it's as good as the moment is and it's over.
Yeah.
And so anyways,
Well,
it just,
that's a funny story. I love that. And I think, one of the, I mean, a take home is most guys are more afraid of rejection than almost anything else, you
well, I
know?
think that's why Marshall went viral, was
Yeah.
because he was rejected and rejected and rejected and rejected.
So
And
what
he almost made a big joke of it, which is why, it was like,
I think I forget what the guy's name is, but there's a way he did a thing where he was so afraid of being rejected. It was because of dating. But instead of going out and just forcing himself to ask out women that he wasn't interested in, he made a mission to get rejected a minimum of 3 times a day for other things. So he would just ask random strangers, "Hey, do you have a piece of gum I could have?" Or, "Hey, can you give me a ride down the street to the gas station?" And he would just ask people, just go up to random people. And he said, about after a month, he was like completely ready to just ask and be rejected and ask and be rejected. Like it loses the sting. And so I think that's a good.
yeah, but I think what I'm getting at is you could maybe not be rejected if you knew like exactly, like not like you're trying to hack the female for manipulation, but to actually have something sustainable
Absolutely.
or meaningful or
Yeah.
purposeful.
Yeah, absolutely. And the presence and the practice. And I'm sure he was much more relaxed on day 21 asking than he was on day 1 and 2.
I
Yeah.
think he's such a jokester. He's the most persistent person I've ever met in my life. So I think it was like fun and games for him, and he just loved the process.
His-
I don't think he's really one who cares about rejection as much. Maybe he does more than I realize. But I'll tell you, the whole time Ainsley and I were just like so embarrassed for him. We were just like, oh my gosh, but the girl like that said yes, does she really like? He's
Dude.
probably like, oh my God, I didn't realize I was the 24th first girl before I said
Yeah.
yes.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. Well, we're close to
Yeah.
the
Yeah. I know
hour,
we're on time.
but I do want to mention because we have another in-person Polarity Lab coming up on Sunday, April 19th. So it's a few weeks away. It's Sunday afternoon. We're going to be doing it at the Rainbow Blossom in the Highlands, and it's at 2:30 in the afternoon. It's completely free. And we named this one like "What's Love Got to Do with It?" And it's going to be a conversation about polarity and love, and romance, and for men, women, couples, singles, whoever, we'll be talking more about it. We'll do some more of these virtual labs, leading up to it. And we definitely want you to come out and join us. And then we're going to continue to be putting out information. Paige and I went last week together out to
Volterra.
Volterra, the retreat center where we're going to be in September, and it is awesome. Like I can't wait to go back and hang out there and just spend more time. It is a really special, magical place, and so we're super excited for that. Yeah,
Awesome. Well, thank you, Peter, for putting this together again. I
yeah.
appreciate the
So
time.
so
Mhm.
good to see you. I'm gonna stop live streaming and recording. Talk to you later.
Mhm. Take care.